Today we are talking about hospice, and we want to make sure that if you are in need of hospice care, that you're able to make an informed decision. And here to help with that, we're at Hospice Savannah. And joining me now is Vice President of Service Excellence, Jamey Espina. Hi, Jamey. It's great to see you.
How you doing, Natalie?
So let's talk about hospice. For our viewers who may not be familiar with that word, what is hospice?
So, I'll be honest, my job for the past 15 years has been to educate the community on hospice and Hospice Savannah, the only joint commission hospice in our community, and how we can support families in time of need. So, hospice is a program that's really about living. People hear the word hospice and they think of death, and it's a shame because what we know is that the majority of Americans, when they die, they choose to die at home with their loved ones, in peace, out of pain, and really with quality of life. And that's what hospice does. Hospice provides quality of life at end of life. So the other option is to die in the hospital, in pain, without your family, without support. And this is what we see. We see an alarming trend of more folks dying in the hospitals as opposed to their home where they want to die.
When do you think is the proper time to think about hospice?
Folks need to understand hospice before they need it, way before. When a patient and family is discussed properly about what their options are, whether it's quality of life versus continuous treatment and tests and measures and being poked and prodded, they want to be at home. They want to deal with their relationships. They want to do what's important to them. They want to have quality life at end of life. So the amount of days aren't as important as opposed to the quality of days. And that's what hospice does. Hospice brings quality, and it brings life.
And a sense of
comfort.
comfort.
End of life, and a sense of comfort. That's exactly. So what we have is a culture who doesn't understand their options. And so they're dying in the hospitals. And that's not what it's meant to be. And that's why Hospice Savannah is here to change that. To make that difference.
What really sets Hospice Savannah apart from all the rest?
So that's the best question, and there are a lot of answers. And number one is that as a nonprofit, our only goal, our only accountability is to our patients, families, and the community. So everything, we're not worried about stockholders or owners or shareholders. The community, the patient, the families are our shareholders. And so everything goes to that. And that's number one. Number two is Hospice Savannah's Joint Commission credited, which means we hold ourselves to a higher standards. Number three is that as a leader and as an organization that is dedicated to our community, we have created services that starts way before hospice. So we have a continuum of care that no one in Georgia, even maybe very few in the entire United States, offer. So we start with the Adele Caregiver Institute. So if a loved one's dealing with a diagnosis, it could be a time of diagnosis, they can come to our Adele Caregiver Institute and learn as a caregiver how to care for their loved one, how to take care of themselves, understanding the disease, and then get support and resources so that they can deal with becoming a caregiver. No one plans to be a caregiver, they're just thrown into it. And so now we have all these resources. Hospice Savannah has 24, you'll never get an answering machine, there's always someone available. We have nurses that are dedicated evening and weekends. We are 24/7, so we were always available. So other hospices don't have the luxury. We have over about 150 employees, and they're here to care for their families. The other thing I think that's important to know is that Hospice Savannah has the only hospice and palliative care certified physicians in our community. So we're the only one. Now, other hospices have medical directors, but they're not full-time. They have their own practices, and then they work for hospice as well. They sign papers, they do what they need. But Hospice Savannah has 3 medical directors that are hospice and Savannah palliative care certified, which means this is their specialty. In other words, if you had a broken foot, you want to see the right doctor for a broken foot.
Right.
We have the medical directors that are hospice and palliative care certified. So these are the experts, pain management, symptom, all those issues that are so important to hospice.
Now, you mentioned Hospice House. How is Hospice House used?
So there's 3 uses for Hospice House. The main use is when there are symptoms that can't be controlled in the home. So we bring the patient to our hospice house, and our physicians are there, 24 nurses, CNAs, so we utilize hospice house to get their symptoms under control. Once their symptoms are under control, the patient can go back home where they want to be. The other uses are respite care, which means a break for the caregiver. So if the caregiver is completely overwhelmed, if they have a wedding in California to go to, we can bring their loved one to our hospice house where they can stay for about a week, and the patient can get the caregiver can get a break. And then finally, we have residential care. Patients under Hospice Savannah care can choose to live at Hospice House under our residential program. So they may not be able to live at home, they may not choose to live in a nursing home or assisted living, so they can live at Hospice House. Now, this is an out-of-pocket expense, so it's basically like paying for room and board. But it is an amazing way for someone to care for their loved one, where they'll get that 24/7 care at our beautiful Hospice House.
Thank you, Jamey, so much for joining us and for everything that you do here at Hospice Savannah.
My pleasure. Thank you.
If you'd like more information on Hospice Savannah or any other Coastal Expert, all you have to do is go to our Coastal Expert page. You'll find that at WSAV.com.